Hey and welcome to the Reddit Face YouTube channel. I'm really happy that you decided to spend a couple of minutes with me, and if you'd like, please subscribe and leave a like, that'd be so awesome. Anyway, today we're looking at this question on AskReddit. What's your I finally met my online friend horror story? I don't know if it's a horror story, but it's how I ended up where I live now. I played World of Warcraft for years with a pretty regular group. Got to know them offline, and at one point two of them, a couple, invited me to move across the country. At the time I didn't have anything to me where I was, so I packed up and moved. Got out here, moved in with my friends, and everything seemed okay. My buddy was a long-haul driver, so he was always gone for days at a time. His girl would try to set me up multiple times with two of her friends at the same time, one in Minnesota. I ended up having a hard time finding work for a while. Finally got a job though, and was putting some money away while helping watch their kids. Out of nowhere one day, my buddy accuses me of trying to fool around with his girl. Nothing had ever happened, but I had noticed her spending more and more time in my room when he wasn't there. I knew his history, and his previous relationship had ended after she cheated with a friend of his. He wouldn't listen, so I got kicked out without any warning, and they stole about 1K worth of my stuff and later moved. Ultimately, it all worked out for me. Got a good job here, wife, kids, and cut them out completely. We were friends online for years. We'd meet up ever so often, and when we started families, we'd meet up and take the kids to the zoos or whatever. She wanted us to go on a cruise together, with our husbands and kids. I made the comment towards the effect of we can't afford that, and she went nuts. We shouldn't have had kids if we can't afford them. We shouldn't have more children. Our life sucks, blah blah blah, because I didn't want to go on a goddamn cruise with her and her bratty ass kid. Sounds like a nightmare. I met a guy online. We really got on, and he came over a few times so we could hang out. I did find him attractive and tried to hint that I was into him. Note, I can't flirt to save my life. But nothing ever happened. After a few dates, he suddenly vanished offline. No social media, he wasn't answering text or emails, nothing. I thought he'd ghosted me. After 6 months, he reappears. I asked him where he'd been, and he said, I don't want to talk about it. A few weeks after, there was a fad where people were Googling their names and posting humorous stories they had found about similar people with their name. Mine was about a ship that had my initials, and I started to Google friends' names just out of boredom/morbid curiosity. Googled his names and found a local news story from his area. One of those crime and courts things that he had been done for statutory rape of a minor, online grooming, and had his computer and phone seized as evidence. That is a bullet dodged. A couple of years ago, this girl messaged me on Reddit saying she really connected with the comment I made about first seeing the ocean because she had just gone through a similar experience. She was going to come down to Chicago to visit a friend of hers and asked for suggestions of things to do. I gave her a bunch, and then we kept talking and finding out we had more and more in common. We eventually started talking over the phone and text messages, and when she came down, we went out for burgers and beer. We kept talking every day after that, and I was really starting to like her. She said she wanted to come down to Chicago again and if she could stay with me. I told her, of course, and a few weeks later, she was here for Saturday and Sunday. Really, it was mostly Sunday because she got in late on Saturday and fell asleep on my couch. The next day we went to the zoo and had a really amazing day. After that, we came back to my place and decided to go to the brewery nearby, which made a beer that had her name in it. We went there and then ended up bar hopping through until we ended up near the dive bar by my apartment. We drank and played pool there and eventually grabbed some to-go beers and headed back. I asked if she wanted to see the place by the river I like to go to and drink and think. We sat and eventually started making out and decided to head back to my apartment. We hooked up and then the next day we went to the south side to get some breakfast at a place she really liked near her friend's apartment. We kept talking after that and I was planning on coming up to visit her in Detroit, but then one day she just ghosted me out of nowhere. Not as horrible as some other stories, but it was really for me because I actually really like this girl, and to this day I have no idea why she stopped talking to me. Edit. She's definitely not dead. We followed each other on Instagram and I saw that she was okay a bit after she ghosted me. I met a really cool group of people from a chat group website called AskReddit or chat that lives in minimal distance away from me, like maybe 15 minutes, and the horror story part is that I was in my emo phase and probably made a great lasting impact on their lives as a hot topic connoisseur. That's a good one. I used to play World of Warcraft with my now ex. Our guild leader actually wound up moving to our state with his wife. My ex and I broke up before we got the chance to hang out with the guy, and right after the breakup, he messaged my ex essentially asking if it was cool if he and his wife got me drunk and took advantage of me. Ex showed me the screenshots when I was getting my stuff from his place, and I cancelled my plans to meet the guy and his wife. My ex had been physically abusive and broke up with me to date the girl he'd cheated on me with. I tried leaving before, but he'd fake suicide attempts and I was so scared he'd go through with it, so I stayed. Even though he was in a new relationship, he tried to keep tabs on me and control me, but I saw it as my chance to escape. I happened to move right after we split and he didn't know my new address. I blocked him on everything. Somehow he kept getting information on me though. Turns out the guild leader was feeding him everything. I hadn't deleted the guy off Facebook because I figured he was only a problem in person. When I confronted him over Messenger, bringing up the abuse, and the guy said he choked you because you guys were arguing, and he was afraid he wouldn't get the chance to speak. He still loves you. Side note, the choking was cause I was defending myself against accusations of cheating, which I hadn't done. Not a horror story, but definitely weird. At 13 years old, I went to a show where my male online friend was also supposed to go. Not a big show, and I was with my father. Don't worry. We were supposed to meet at one of the entrances, but he never showed up. When I asked him about it later, he said he must have been at the wrong entrance. Over time we stopped talking for no reason really. A few years later, one of our mutual online friends told me she learned that the guy in question was actually a girl. I don't care about the gender. The thing is that she wasn't the one on any of the pictures she sent to us and our other friends, and her name wasn't her real name. The worst part is that another of our friends even told us she got pregnant from him. I don't know if she asked her to fake a pregnancy or if it was her own idea, but that was really weird. Wonder what other things she lied to us about. This is way back in the mid-90s. Bulletin board systems were all the rage. I made friends with this guy from NC. He was friends with a bunch of us from my dorm, mostly females, which should probably have been a red flag, but I was extremely naive at the time. A couple months in, he mentioned he was coming to our state for a wedding and asked if he could come by our college to meet everyone. It was agreed he'd sleep in my dorm room, since my roommate was almost never around. Now, there was no discussion of sex, but I was pretty excited to meet this guy and see if he was as funny and charming as he was online. Well, day arrives, dude shows up. I should mention that I and all my college friends were 18 or 19. This guy was 24. Or so he said. Guy looked like, and I'm not exaggerating, a cancer patient. Pale, gaunt features, long greasy pale blonde hair, except where he was bald on top. And just generally looked like he was about to die or he was dressed as a ghoul for Halloween. He insisted on hugging all of us. I was trying to remind myself that looks doesn't matter and that he was a cool guy despite his very unsettling appearance. But then, when we all started hanging out, things just got worse. He was asking really invasive questions of all of us, making weird comments to whatever was said, just all around creepy and distressing. I was sitting on the floor with another friend and actively rocking back and forth from discomfort. I lied and said I hurt my back and that sleeping on the floor helped because that night he kept insisting we could share my tiny twin college bed. Nope. Last time I've ever met anyone from that side. I met two LiveJournal friends. I'll call them Adam and Betty. Adam came from the East Coast. Betty came from the West Coast. They met in the middle and vacationed in my state, so all of us could hang out. Betty was fine. Exactly the same IRL as she was on LiveJournal. Really pretty too. Adam though, oh my god. The first night we met up, we were going to karaoke. Adam and Betty would drive to my house, meet my mom, and pick Twin and I up to go to the karaoke bar. Betty doesn't drink, so she'd drive the rental car. They knocked, I opened the door. Missy, the elderly terrier mutt who I love so much, immediately made friends with Betty. Betty walked all the way in, backing Missy up, and then Adam walked in. It was like a switch had flipped. Miss Dog lost her shite. She did the "I'm going to kill you" bark, hackles raised, tail tucked between legs, snarling, snapping, and it sounded like she was screaming. Mom asked me to help get the dog under control and in the back room, so I did. Mom said she was worried about this guy Adam and wanted me to be careful. I said Missy was obviously freaked out about him too, so I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. So, we went to the karaoke bar. Betty ordered pop. This was a non-issue, as she was a devout Mormon and didn't drink. I ordered pop. And Adam immediately started trying to talk me into alcohol because he knows I drink. Hard nope, dude. Being young and naive, I said maybe later rather than trying to pressure people to drink is a dick move and it makes people think you're a creep. Twin, who was still presenting female at the time, ordered pop. This surprised me because he was going through a huge party phase. He spent most of his free time drunk. Adam started trying to talk Twin into alcohol too. No, I have a headache. Beer will make it worse. We did karaoke. It was unremarkable. We went home. The next day, Betty flew home. She just changed her ticket and bounced. She gave us the details in a filtered LiveJournal entry, saying that Adam wouldn't stop hitting on her and she didn't feel comfortable being in the same hotel as him. We all blocked him. Okay, that was not really a horror story to be totally honest, but okay. It was a good story anyway. Thank you for that, dear Redditor. I had a guy profess his love for me over Skype. He wanted to come see me. He lived in the UK. I live in the States. Except I had a boyfriend at the time. I told him this. I told him that he was wasting his time and I have zero interest in him. He still is coming. I told him that there was no time to see him, as I had work and school. He says it's fine. He will wait until I have time to see him. I told him not to come. He says he has his parents' blessings. So he came. He stayed in a hotel for 3 weeks while I had to deal with finals, work and spending time with my boyfriend. I hang out with him twice, once with a group of friends and once with my boyfriend. He got mad because he said that he wanted to hang out with me, alone, in his hotel room, and when I said no, he flipped. He said that because he flew over here, I should at least hang out with him. He flew back home to the UK a few days later and blocked me on all social media. It's not a horror story, it's a story about how I was put off meeting people from the internet. I was friends with a bunch of people I met through an online game. After about 2 years, I decided to meet 2 of them. The 2 I was meeting were a long-distance couple. One from one country and the other one from mine. They had met many times and had spent 2 weeks together prior to meeting with me. We met in the city, said hi and hugged and did some touristy stuff, took their pictures, etc. But throughout the whole time, they weren't really talking to me. At first, I put it down to anxiety, as I was nervous too. But even after lunch, they were only talking to each other, and I felt left out. I even took a sneaky video of them talking to each other and sent it to a friend, who agreed it was odd. When it was time for me to leave, I told them I had to go, but I had a nice time, and they continued to chat to each other. I said it again, but no response, so I started to walk away until one of them said, "Oh, bye." I was really hurt. It was like they didn't want me to be with them. I had spent a lot of money getting down, especially since at the time I didn't have a job. When I got back, I stopped talking to them. The friend who I sent the video to sent a message to them asking why they were ignoring me, and they tried to turn it on me, saying that I was the quiet one and that I was being rude to them, especially leaving without saying goodbye. I blocked them all on the game. A few months go by and one of them finds my social media and tries to reconnect. Starts off well and then goes back to blaming me. Haven't met anyone from the internet since.